Jacksnax. Today we're doing a little office hours. And I planned on talking about soloing strategies and approaches over the Grateful Dead's song Shakedown Street. So I've pulled up a backing track that is readily available here on YouTube from the wonderful and ever generous Mr. Williams here. All right, and Jeff has been doing backing tracks forever. This is the background volume here. Anyway, just gonna have some fun over this type of thing and see whether or not anybody out there is interested in talking about how I approach this stuff and how you guys could think about your playing as you approach this tune. It's a really spectacular tune, especially as a vehicle for jamming. Hang on a second, let's get this so I can have a second screen here for the lesson. Pardon me, folks. Should have done this before I signed on, but I actually had some obligations this morning and they have been postponed. So happy to hop on and be part of an online community, which, by the way, I just want you to know how nice it has been having you guys join me in my quest to become a better guitar player and teacher and share with you guys what's going on. Let's see what's going on. View channel, doink. I think if I do that, yeah, there I am. And I'll just turn down the volume. And now if you guys want to lob in comments or anything like that, that's wonderful. So today I'm playing my 335, which is kind of a guitar of choice for me, you know, overall. It's not necessarily the go-to for lots of Grateful Dead style music, or at least not for the Jerry roll, which is what I primarily focus on. But I do find it to be helpful to have the extra power of the humbucker to trigger the envelope filter that's at the core of the song Shakedown Street. Can everybody hear that? Or I don't know if anybody's even there. I don't think anybody's on board. So I'm on the bridge pickup here, and I've got the tone rolled down about halfway. I'm at 4.5, 5. I guess it can tighten up even more, all right, but then the wah kind of disappears. So right here we've got a little bit of overdrive. I find it actually kind of smooths out the high end a little bit. Which can get a little much, at least with my rig. So anyway, 335, I'm using the Kemper, a little bit of overdrive and delay. A lot of reverb, I guess. All right, right, so let's talk a little bit about Shakedown. All right, let's ditch the filter. So Shakedown is an interesting tune in that for the bulk of the tune, we're working out of... Hi, how's it going, Peter? It's good to see you. So we've got a large section of the tune is basically this D minor jam. That's roughly and Bob's doing that kind of upbeats, that kind of I don't really tussle with the Bob parts in this tune. They are kind of difficult in terms of them being so profoundly upbeat oriented. But fabulous use of space and kind of being zigging where the other guitar player is zagging. Like very cool, like kind of approach that Bob's taking with the rhythm. All right, so we've got this D minor vamp. All right, now we're going to go through a series of chords that people might not understand, that they're all out of the key of C. We're going the 5 of the key of C, the 4 of the key of C, and then the C chord, and then back to the 2 chord. And then when we come up during the pre-chorus, we come up to the 4 chord. Not sure what happened. What happened here? I don't understand. Huh. This is terrible. This is because a phone picked up? All right, that was odd as hell. My phone rang and decided to throw the whole world into a tailspin. That was awful. That's the problem with technological shit these days, is that if I'm using my phone to do this for this purpose, and all of a sudden some asshole spammer calls me to tell me that it's time for me to donate to something, it interrupts my live stream. But anyway, here we are talking about what's going on. All these chords, right? They all stem out of C. Right? And oddly enough, the only chord that isn't in the key of C is the actual C chord when we get to the chorus. It's the C7 chord. Right, back up into the thing. So the chorus is actually playing at a C7, so it's kind of like a C funk, right? So we've got more of an opportunity to play both the mixolydian and minor pentatonic, or even Dorian. Kind of stuff. So a little darker sound. Okay, but over the bulk of the tune, all right, it's that D minor stuff, all out of the key of C. So D Dorian, F Lydian, E Phrygian, right? G mixolydian. All right. So let's talk about how I would approach that. Let's put on the overdrive, the delay, and the follower. Okay. All right, so over top of the D minor groove, we've just got our simple. Is that right? Staticky? Even currently, Cody? Is that really what's happening? Does it sound bad right now, Cody? I'm sorry. I'm seeing some feedback here from a listener, and obviously that's not my intention. Just a tad comes in and out. Well, I'm certainly not trying for that, but I appreciate you commenting, and I'll try to. I guess it's kind of past my control. There's a little crackle on the guitar. Okay, like it's too loud, probably, like that kind of thing. I can turn it down, I suppose. Maybe it's just too loud compared to what my poor little microphone can handle. Okay, so what is the order of the day? Over the D minor jam, we're going to need to tackle the D minor pentatonic first, probably. And from there, we want to add a few key tones. We want to add the 9. We want to add the 6. And we want to add the flat 5. So we kind of have a jumbo Dorian, like a Dorian meets the blues scale kind of sound. So opposite the rhythm track, let's hear that. Let's see what we got. This is the chorus, I think. D minor. Right to the D jam, okay? Time to head out for work, but I'll be replaying this for later. Okay, sorry about the crackle, guys. That may be part and parcel of the filter, which makes things go wah and kind of get kind of snarky. Sorry about that. All right, so with that D minor sound, we want to have that. Those 3 color tones. All right, kind of odd, but as we come down through the D minor jam, you'll kind of hear how it can help us out. And we're kind of already going to be alluding to the fact that we've got the guitar solo coming up soon that features that D minor sound so prominently. So one of the things I like to do is I like to encourage students to mess around with these 3 symmetrical string fingerings that we've got on the D, E, and F, the A, B, C, the F, G, and B, what is it? Going to be G sharp or A flat. So that would give us this. Or we can go back a note and go. All right, so either of those 3 strings in a row, symmetrical fingerings can yield some interesting sequences, okay? So, let's get to the chorus. And here's the solo. There we go. Right, so you can kind of pretty much keep that going throughout the whole thing, or you can start to address the chords as they pop up. The G chord, F, C, and then back to the D. All right, and all that is just the modes of C major. That's what's so special about this part of the song, is that if you've done your homework and know how to approach C major and its modes, you actually are pretty well armed to tackle this tune. All right, so what I want you to do is, if you don't know your modes, this is a great opportunity for you to double down your studies. Whoops, and there we go. Now it's up there in the shot a little bit better. All right, so minor pentatonic, everybody should probably have that together by now. But if we add that 9, the 6, and then don't shy away from playing flat 5 bluesy licks. Okay, and this note appears here. The 9 appears here, and the 6 appears here. So as we get this, we also get, so over top of our D minor groove, we can hear this sound. Okay, and start to get pretty fluid throughout those ideas. So the nice thing is that's all C. That's F Lydian. E Phrygian, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Technically E Phrygian. I never play E Phrygian. I hate Phrygian. I don't like the sound of Phrygian there. I'd prefer to hear minor pentatonic. Back up to F Lydian. And then back again. Sorry. Then we get the chromatically minor. Or right, any minor lick, okay? E minor pentatonic, E flat minor pentatonic, D minor pentatonic, right? Okay, all those will work during that. Okay, you gotta hit that. All right, then we've got a little while longer on the D minor chord. 1, 2, 3, and then G7, right? And then finally into C blues, not C major, which is, up until this point, we've been playing out of C major, and that's kind of the little switcheroo that the Dead likes to do. They love this little like, hey, you think the whole song is going to be diatonic? Well, the whole first half of the tune is, but the big jam over the C7 chord is just like just a down and dirty C funk groove, basically, okay? Nothing shaking on Shakedown Street. Okay, so yeah, you can play C mixo over top of that too. That sounds nice. A little brighter sound than not that. I think it sounds a little better with a little bit more sass than the mixo can provide, but it's still an option. And one that Jeff Williams, in my opinion, in error kind of, well, not in error, I think with the best of intentions, puts up on his screen as the scale of choice. I don't really hear Garcia going for that over the outro jam, for example. All right, but let's try it again. Let's look around again. Let's try some ideas. All right, so we've already got our D minor chord covered, right? So that's going to be just basically D minor, but we're going to add a couple of notes. That's D Dorian, and then we're going to add that flat 5. Kind of sinister, that flat 5, okay? So don't be afraid to bring that in. It sounds really dope. So that's the sound of the D Dorian with the flat 5 over in there. And you saw me do something I kind of like, is taking those and coming down in thirds. And including that chromatic passing tone between the 5th and the 4th as you go through there. All right, it creates a lot of tension, especially on the way up too. All right, I'm glissing into the 9 and into the 6. And then again. All right, so taking any of those notes and glissing. Could I show that chromatic walk up? Absolutely. Okay. So if we're doing it this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So okay, so that's kind of the most rudimentary way of looking at it. You could do it more like okay, using that. Okay, you can do it here. Using that same articulation. And here. Okay. That kind of trick. It's just kind of a little hack almost, okay? And I find it pretty helpful, all right? You just want to be clever when you use sequential ideas so that you kind of don't give away the fact that you're playing patterns. Patterns are super helpful for creating more ideas, absolutely, and I rely on them all the time. But one of the things I like to do is kind of, shift things around a little bit so kind of hide my intentions a little bit more. All right, hang on a second. Hydration. All right, so once we get to the G chord, da-ba-doop-ba-ba-doop-boom, we're going to need to know that lick, right? So it starts on D. We're going to want to know that everywhere. Okay. We're going to want to know that. And in addition to that, if I was really kind of pushing you guys, I'd ask you to think about harmonizing it instead of going. Take it from the third. What would that be? And then from the 5. Okay, and using that as your little go-to motif that you'd kick into after kind of not noodling but exploring over top of that D minor vamp. All right, that's what that's good for. It's good for, you know, for over the. Let's take it from the chorus. Okay, so that's trying to address that motif of or even if you just grab the rhythm of it and run up through the scale, you're going to still be kind of doffing your cap as the soloist to it, okay? You don't have to nail it every single time, all right? But it's definitely helpful to know it in a bunch of places and understand where you are in the arc of the tune. So if the whole band is going to be going, you might as well hit that with them and make everybody think, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Okay? Now over top of the G chord, and let's get to that part of the solo. All right? And we'll fixate on that for a little bit, because that's a fun part to play. All right, that's the solo. And okay? So let's think about this little lick. I do this all the time, okay? We're talking sixths, okay? So that's going to be, there's our G chord, right? Okay, then, sorry. That kind of thing where we're coming down. Back into our D minor sound. All right, let's hear that. We'll do it again. Okay, so over top of that G chord. That's kind of a hip little bit right there. Let's just try that again. Try it again. 2, 3, 4. In. All right. So that's what I'm talking about, is that then over the F chord. Now I tend to use a chromatic note that bridges the gap between the C and the D at the end of that verse. Like, so if we're hearing up to the G right here, here, and then, okay, chromatically up from the C back into the D vamp, okay? That's over top of this kind of an interesting C add 9 chord a lot of times, C7 add 9. You'll hear some people play that. It's kind of a 70s cliche. Bee Gees used to use this a lot. Back up into, okay? It's kind of weird because that B flat is featured so prominently in that C7 sound. And that doesn't really hold together modally. So a lot of people don't play that. They just hear this. All right, and that's fine. I just kind of chromatically come up. Okay, so if we're here. G. F. C. Again. Okay, now we're into the pre-chorus, which structurally speaking is probably the most challenging and interesting. Okay, so we've got this kind of F major 7 sound. Maybe that's cause it's midnight in the dark of the E7, E minor 7. All right. Now, one of the things that we want to talk about though is that when we're playing that F chord, maybe that's cause it's midnight, right? That's clearly an F major chord, right? That's a major third. So what chord are we really playing though? Is that an F major, like it's a 1 chord, or is it more like F major, like it's the 4 chord in the C, in the key of C? So if we were to take the C major scale and harmonize it across the chord voicings, that's what we get. So C, the fourth mode of C is this F. Okay, so what we really want to do is make sure that we're not playing from this note. This B flat has no business in our song. We want to hear this B natural. So raised 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, raised up 1. Okay, and look, B natural is there. So the same notes that we use here from C to C are what we want to think about when we play over this F chord, but we just want to play it from F to F. Okay, so F Lydian there, okay? Maybe it's cause it's midnight, right? Now, that makes this an E Phrygian chord, right? Because we have Do, Re, we've already established that's the 2, this is the 1, the 2, the 4, the 3. Now the third is Phrygian, right? It has a flattened second degree in its scale. And frankly, when you play E Phrygian over top of this, it starts to sound like you're just playing the C major scale over an E minor chord, because that's really what you're doing. But a better sound for me, and one that has less potential for making what I would say standard E minor fingerings, right? Which normally when we play over like minor chords, we're thinking that we get we always are thinking that we get like a major second between the root and this note, the 9th. But the Phrygian mode has a flattened 9, okay? So it's hard for people to see this as looking like E minor. That just sounds more like C major to me. But but it's really, right? I don't see the need to play that. It sounds kind of heady and doesn't have the same gutsy sound as playing the E minor blues scale. So if you're playing the F Lydian sound, then you go down to that E minor chord, come up and go. Okay, so we've got that F Lydian to E minor pentatonic. Then we get that chromatic thing. Right, so getting a couple of those. To our G7, okay? So let's go and take that section. Right? Right here. Okay, so now that it's hard to hear some of the licks and ideas with the filter going. I'll give you that because it swallows a couple of the attacks and things like that. But what I want you to focus on is playing nice smooth changes from that F Lydian sound into E minor. Okay, and I like to add that little bluesy flourish over top of that E, okay? I do not think that you want to fuck around with playing either the F or the F sharp over the E chord. I just don't like it, okay? And then you can take any of the blues ideas that you were playing over top of that E minor chord, bring them down a fret, and then down another fret to play from. So that's. Now I think the opening approach to how to, the first timer approach to how to do that is literally to just go and just hit those on downbeats. Then you can find a lick. And then you can even take it. Let's say you were going to play a little sequenced idea. You could save this one for the first one, and then break those three sequences up over each subsequently chromatically descending fret. Like that, okay? And that's what I'm talking about, like thinking your way out of being obvious with your patterns, okay? So that is a pattern, right? And that sounds nice. Dabba dooba dabba dooba dabba doo. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Okay, and we're using that all over the place. So maybe you want to hear. Maybe you want to hear. 2 at the end, or the same 2 and then a new one. Right? Or 3 distinct ones. Okay. Okay, and over top of that G sound, we've got a distinctly G major, but with the flat 7. Okay, don't forget, we're still playing in the key of C, and so the G is the 5 of C, so it's going to be G mixo. And then back to C, but now this kind of twisted C. Very, very funky, that sound, okay? So without the filter, let's try taking a pass or two. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. What do we got? Fucked that up though, guys, to be honest. I kept playing E minor with an F sharp. All right, you get into habits, and that's the dangerous thing about it. I mean, I play guitar, far too much probably, 5-6 hours a day sometimes, especially if I'm teaching, and then I have people getting nasty vibrato, it says here someplace. I don't know what Patrick was on about, but hey, stoked. So what did I do? I made this rookie move. This is a bullshit move. Like, here I am thinking I'm playing E Dorian, but it's really, like I said, it's E Phrygian, so I kept hitting this major second. That F sharp has nothing to do with what's going on in here. Wow, somebody just tipped me $20. Holy shit. Kenny, man, you're the dude. Thank you very much. Holy, I didn't know that this was even really an option. But Kenny, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? I'm a whore. What can I do for you for $20? All right, so the idea is that, damn, that's really, really super nice. Kenny, you've warmed my heart. Thank you, and I appreciate that. So one of the things I do enjoy with this kind of stuff, just continue, great lesson. All right, thanks. So one of the things I like to do a lot is this idea of taking the minor pentatonic and dressing it up a little bit. A lot of people, they look at the one chord vamp section of this tune in a way that, they get bogged down in thinking they have to play Dorian, meaning every note is C major coming back. And yeah, you can do that, but I think sometimes it's better to jump over certain notes. Maybe you play some bluesy stuff and then hit that, or even glisten. Okay. One fret bend into there. It's kind of a classic move. So the 1 fret gliss is kind of a go-to move for me. And definitely came out of appreciation for horn players and Jerry Garcia. All right, so if we were to take that structure that we were talking about earlier, right, we could go. And take every note and precede it by an up, like. That kind of thing. So if we're hearing that over the D chord, kind of gone past the form, right? We're just in the vamp, I think, on the jam track. So the last 6 minutes of this thing are all just over a C7 vamp. Okay. So basically what I was getting at is over top of that D sound, glissing into the 9, then coming down, then glissing into the 1, then glissing into the 7, then glissing into the 6, then into the 5. That kind of. Okay, so all those ideas, you don't have to keep going all the way through the system, right? It gets a little tiresome. But if you do that for a second, you know, those sequenced ideas, they'll fly right out of your fingers if you practice them enough. And then you can kind of unleash that little blah on the world, right? And you'd be surprised. The good news is, like, if you devote it to muscle memory, you'll occasionally surprise yourself. You won't necessarily know exactly what's going to come out, and it's kind of inspirational for a second or two. All right, well, let's talk about some ideas that I used. I've done a pretty good, in my opinion, patting myself on the back, long form tabbed out version of some good ideas, some of which I'm parodying right now, actually, on this song a couple years back. And the tablature to that is available if you're interested in buying tabs or whatever. If you want to find your own way, the whole lesson is actually explained note for note for free online, or you can write me and send me a little bit of dough, and we'll get you a tab of that lesson if you like it, and if you require a tab. But what I want you to do is think about what's happening here. I do this one little idea that I think is quite fun. All right, it's called a rotational triplet. And we're gonna go do a downstroke and a pull off on the high E string from the 12th to the 10th fret. And then while I'm doing that, I kind of rotate my hand this way, and I go. Right, and that in and of itself is not that big a deal. bring it, if you take a look at the D minor pentatonic scale or even the Dorian scale as a series of like a front note and a back note, right? If you go and hit the front note, pull off, and then you create a sequence. Or you could do the back one. All right, so you'll hear that. Let's wait till over here. Do, 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 do. Song for me. It's like my Benson on a budget kind of idea. All right, and just that alone, I think, is worth the price of admission here. Just it's rotational triplet. You strike, pull off, and then while you're doing the pull off, you have time to get your hand in position for this little cheap trick. Just brush, and then brush right into the adjacent string. Whole, like, what do they call it? A rest stroke. So it's just up, pull off, up. So back in D. You got it right there. Okay, very, very fun. And then you can do it off the back note. All right, so you can do that. Another little move, guitar player that I was hanging out with for a little while, taught me a while back, is this kind of thing. So we're kind of, sorry, Benson on a budget Benson, I don't know. Just came up with that on the fly, but there it is. If we think about the D note being this like pivotal note, okay, kind of like a pedal tone, right? Lots of times this is done with organs where they literally have the pedal pressed down on it, and they're going, right? And that's what we're doing here. So if we come up D Dorian from there, so we can find ourselves using that little cheap trick again. That I'm using them over and over and over again to make it easy for you to be like, there it is, there it is, there it is. Okay, kind of like, it should be easy for you to spot that pattern, okay? And that could have been done here. And you can choose any note that's working, but the D obviously works really well. The root obviously works really well. You could do it over. Okay, and obviously. This could be seen as a direct ripoff of the kind of like close to Dover kind of idea from other successful players. If you are not looking at your heroes and going, what strategy is that guy's doing? Wow, that really is giving me the shakes. Like I've got the willies now when I hear him play that move. Oh boy, I get emotive when I hear that emotional feeling. And then breaking it down and figuring out the secret to these players and their ideas, you're really doing yourself a disservice. You've got these two things on the side of your head. If you just slow it down and maybe loop it, you should be able to pick out what's happening there. So the idea of going back to the money note over and over again. Right? So these kind of shapes that right there that I'm blowing through, this is all like an arpeggio from a D minor 6. Okay, it's just because we're up the neck, we get a lot of verticality to the line, right? So we can get at notes that are like would be like representing a huge jump if we were playing that, right? But here we get right. It's all right below us, so we can right. And then halfway through that, you can change into, you're basically playing over a C dominant sound for the chorus. So if we're doing da 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 da, right, that looks like a G7 sound. All right, and then from there, sorry. Song. I mean, Shakedown Street is one of those classic D minor 6 is very yes, D minor 6. So that's the Dorian sound. So what's that note you're pausing on in relation to the root? Where I go bo bo da di da. That's the 6. I'm going 1 minor 3 5 flat 7 back into the kind of what I always call the smelly note, the note that really has a whiff of the mode, right? It's quite stinky, that note. So you can go bo-do-da-di-da. It's that B, okay? So the B relative to the D is the 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's the Dorian 6. That's the major 6. That's the note that gives the Dorian its character. That and the 9, right? So if we're looking at D minor, and we add that E and the B, that's what we get. So that's why glistening into those color notes is so powerful. It's very emotive, that sound. So the filter does help kind of hide some of that stuff. Like when we hear that, let's get on the bridge pickup. Really, really does help. So you've got that here. There. So if you're looking at playing D minor arpeggios, you might want to figure out a way to finger the 6 there, that B note there. Or learn it like this. All right, and that sets you up nicely to get into the G. Right? That was wrong. There it is. You're very welcome. So yeah, that unlocks the Dorian a bit for you. I learned best by ear, so that stinky note analogy really helps. I'm glad. I mean, look, the way I looked at all this stuff for years was fucked up and wrong. I didn't have anybody. I took 4 years of lessons from 10 to 14. So basically I got my picking rudiments together, and my teacher, he was a beautiful dude, really awesome cat, had great skills that he could have taught me if I had only been a little bit more mature, I think. He was trying to, and some of it did permeate, but much of it was lost on me, largely because of the fact that it's hard to expect an 11-year-old to remember any of this shit after he gets picked up by his mom and bounces around the back of a station wagon for an hour and a half before he gets home to actually try to implement it and drive it home. And there was no recordings, and there was certainly no way to write down this much information, all right? But I'm not even suggesting that I would have been player enough to apply the lessons that this person had inside them. But I do remember him showing me all the fingerings for the different scales and the modes, and thinking, what's the fucking point of that? That's the same exact thing. That's just like synonyms. Why am I learning the same scale from a different note? And now I see why. And he didn't really explain it in a way that made sense to me. And like I said, I may not have even been open to hearing the rationale behind it. But the reason why we're doing all this is that what we want to do is we want to think about the C major scale being implemented across all those chords that are diatonic to it. And let's take a second to look at this, because a lot of my students do not get what I'm getting at right off the bat. I spent an hour last night with a tremendously talented young student of mine, but maybe I wasn't explaining it right, or it takes some doing. It takes a while. It needs to sit on top of your crust and soak in. It takes some time to permeate, all right? But if we were looking at the C major scale as it pertains to how chords are built, we think about it like this. We're playing the 1, skipping the 2, playing the 3, skipping the 4, playing the 5, skipping the 6, and playing the 7. And we end up with a major 7 chord as our 1 chord. All right, and this has been the way that we analyze the 1, is seen as a major 7th. Now, oftentimes people like Barry Harris, he thinks that the 6, and I happen to agree, I think the 6 is a better 1 chord, to be perfectly frank, but we'll stick with tradition for a little bit. So if we take the scale and then find the note where the 3rd, right, and then follow that up, right, we'll now start to be able to form dyads. Right, and then if we keep going, we'll do triads. After a while, those shapes get committed to memory, and then you start learning how to arpeggiate, or all right, and that's why we want to know the scale in multiple positions, because each of those scale tones is going to ultimately be the first note of a chord, and an arpeggio that accompanies that chord. So by recognizing that we have a scale that forms 7 other positions of itself and 7 chords and 7 arpeggios, if we spot a song that only has chords that are buried, that are formed out of or born from the scale of one key, then we have what we call a diatonic progression. And that frees us up immensely to forego a lot of complexities that exist in some musics. So if we take a song, even a song that seems like it's kind of straight ahead, like Eyes of the World by the Grateful Dead, it actually has 2 tonal centers. It has the E chord, that stuff, and then it has the right, we've got a B minor 7 and the A. And so basically we have an E jam and then a pivot to a new tonal center where we're playing the 2 of A. And so we're getting 1, and now we're gonna pivot to the 2 chord of the second tonal center and the 1 chord. We gotta do something about that tuning though. Where's the, that's what's wrong. The weird thing is, it sounds like the B string is flat, but really is the G string is sharp. New York is a weird place. It's 10 degrees, and then all of a sudden it turns into a 50-degree place. Okay. All right, so bringing this back to Shakedown Street, it is a largely diatonic song, right? It's all built off the 2 chord. Right, dun dun dun, bum bum ba da dum, bum bum bum, bum bum ba da da da, to the 5, to the 4, to the 1, to the 2. Right, and the bridge is 4, Phrygian 3, right? Back 4. So whenever you hear this progression where you hear 2 minor chords go, that's 3, 2, 1, almost universally. We'll hear that in tons of like Motown and Philly tunes where you hear like, sound, okay? Just like when we see 2 major chords separated by a whole step, those are always going to be the 5 and the 4. Right? When we see that, that's the 5 and the 4 in the key of E. The E chord is never even played. People think that Fire on the Mountain's in the key of B, but it's not. It's in the key of E, and we're playing off the key's 5th, right? All right, so when you see that happening in, what's it called? Franklin's Tower. We're playing 5, 4, 1, 4, 1, 5, 4, 1. It's all D major, all right? But playing D major over top of an A chord gives you the A Mixolydian scale. So those are diatonic jams. So you can play D major over all 3 chords in your set. Or you can flip it around. I have a different approach. I don't really approach it that way. I don't think Garcia does either, but you could do that. It just sounds a little scaly when you do that. All right, so if we steered the conversation back towards Shakedown, right, especially during that pre-chorus when we're looking at that F Lydian sound, maybe that's 'cause it's midnight, right? We want to be very aware of, that's all over an F chord, right? We want to be able to get that B in there. Maybe that's 'cause it's midnight and the dark of the moon. Right? So, now granted, if you were going to play an F, yeah, you should play F natural over the E chord, but I am going to encourage you, as your big brother on the guitar, to avoid it, give it that flat 5 in lieu of any modal information. Go straight to the pentatonic. A lot of times people don't realize that if we take those 7 chords that we talked about, all right, we have the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, and then finally the octave of the 1 chord, right? That if we look at those 7 voicings, we have 3 majors and 3 minors and the 1 half diminished chord. And I always view it like kind of like a seesaw with the 3 major chords and the 3 minor chords with this kind of half diminished chord in the middle, causing a bit of a balancing act between the major and the minor. And the interesting thing is that you've got 3 majors on one side, and they all differ by 1 scale tone from the major. So C major, all right, has a perfect 4th and a major 7th. If we change the 4 up to a raised 4, we get a Lydian sound. Right? If we drop the major 7 down 1, but keep the 4 perfect, we get the Mixolydian sound. Okay, so each of those 2 other major scales, there's 3 major chords and 3 major scales and 3 major arpeggios, right? They each differ from the Ionian mode, or the parent scale, by only 1 note. So all we're doing is changing 1 little parameter. So 7 goes down, and it becomes Mixolydian. 4 goes up, it becomes Lydian. If everything stays perfect 4th, major 7, that's Ionian. Consequently, we can look at the common tones between those 3 major chords and notice that they all have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 5, and a 6 in common. And what is that but our friend, the major pentatonic? And if we look on the other side of the seesaw, we get 3 minor chords, right? We get the 6th mode. That's the one that directly mimics the notes of the 1st mode, the Ionian mode. We call that the natural minor. Then we add 1 note to the 6th, and we get a perfect 6th, or a major 6th, or whatever you want to call it. A Dorian scale emerges at that point. And then if we go back to the minor, the natural minor scale, and just lower the 9 down to being a flat 9, we end up with a Phrygian mode. And consequently, just like the major side, if we just take the minor pentatonic, we can superimpose that over top of those 3 minor chords. 1, what is it going to be? 1, minor 3, 4, 5, and flat 7. So the minor pentatonic plays nice with the minor chords. The major pentatonic plays nice with all the major chords. So that's why when it comes to that weird ass E minor chord, that's a Phrygian chord, Papa Jack tends to just go and just plays straight up blues over top of it. Okay, and I think that sounds significantly less cerebral than going, because that starts to sound like, it sounds an awful lot like C major to me, where this only sounds like E minor to me. Okay. So I think I'm pretty much out of tips and tricks that I would implore you to look at and consider as you're blowing through your shakedown, with the exception of the outro jam, okay? That's great info, and seeing how the pentatonics contain those chord tones and how the modes relate, killer. You know, William, that was something that I didn't realize, that basically the pentatonic was the same. All 3 of the majors start out, they go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then you can take the pentatonics plus 1 or 2 notes and you can flesh out the 3 major sounds: Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian. And consequently, or conversely, over on the dark side of the seesaw, right, the minor side, you get the same 1, 3, 4, 5, flat 7 that's common across all 3 of those minor tones. So that would be the 6th mode, the 2nd and the 3rd, the Dorian and the Phrygian, okay? So if you want to, then you can always add flat 3rds to the majors and always add flat 5ths to the minors, and you get kind of a 6th, like a hexatonic scale rather than a pentatonic scale. if you've been around these parts, you've probably heard me talk about playing major pentatonic flat 3 as the default, like if we were playing over a C chord. Going. Right? That's the major pentatonic with the flat third. And that's just like playing the major equivalent of the E minor with a flat 5, you know, if we will, let's call it A minor with a flat 5. Right? Major, and then minor. So we can do that across the board, right? So very interesting how pentatonics and that little add-on of the flat 3 on the major side and the flat 5 on the minor side, really, they kind of create the bedrock of much of rock guitar playing. And then we can hunt around and poke around for one or two little colorful modal notes like the 6 or the 4, and mess with it on the 6 on the minor side and the 2 on the minor side, and then you can hunt and peck with the major side and find that if we flatten the 7, we get the mixolydian sound, and if we raise the 4, okay? And a good mnemonic for remembering that the Lydian has a raised 4 is that it's the 4th mode, okay? It's the 4th mode. So we have Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, and then finally Lydian. That's the one with the raised 4, okay? And that's the 4th mode, has a raised 4. It's an easy way to remember it, all right? There's no mnemonic for mixolydian other than it's the one after the last one and just flatten the 7th, and it's basically the same shapes as the major scale, right? It has the same shapes, it just has one little alteration. We flatten the 7, and the other one has one little alteration. We plus 1 on the 4th degree, all right? So those are some of the more salient and pressing ideas to understand before you tackle a tune that's going to be kind of the sprung. It's a pretty big jam. Now let's look at the outro jam, okay? So the prevailing wisdom is that we're playing nothing shaking on Shakedown Street. Used to be the heart of town. Tell me this town ain't got no heart. Just gotta poke around. All right, so we're doing just C7 with the occasional flat 3. So if we've got a big long C7 section, let's get to the outro jam here. This is all C7 here. Okay, boom. Shit, that's just, you're gonna have to work on your blues and learn how to mix major and minor pentatonics. That's all that's happening there, okay? So I'm kind of approaching that as minor C, and then I'm rolling in that flat 3rd. Yeah, let's get a little bit of overdraw on there. bring that flat 5 in. Okay, so minor pentatonic, flat 5, then down and into the major third. Okay. So you can't be afraid to mix them up where you go up to. So that's the flat 7. Here's our major 6. Definitely coming down that 5, flat 5, 4. Right, you got to learn how to get that. Think like Cotton Club, Harlem, 30s, but that kind of, you want to be raunchy a little bit with that kind of thing. Now you can pretty it up. I think it kind of loses a little steam if you do that, personally. But I mean, you could hear like, okay, that's pretty mixolydian there for the first bit. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then, and then chromatically coming down there. Let's see what that is. Stuff has just got to come out of hours of doing what I'm doing, just closing your eyes and leaning in and seeing if you can hear it. So just try, if you can, to maybe steal licks from people. A lot of that chromatically. Right? Or you go. That kind of thing. Try singing along with what you play. It's a great way to make it more, connected to vocal phrasing. Okay. One of the things I tend to lean on kind of heavy, though, when I'm trying to ape that Garcia sound is this idea about, if we're playing over a C7 chord, he likes to do this. Okay? So what am I doing? You can break it down into a couple of ways of thinking about it. It's really the C shape like that. Just this bar chord shape, just up 12 frets. And what we're going to do is we're going to go, so that's flat 7, 6, 5. And then here we're going to go, so that's flat 3, 3, 5, and then 3, flat 3, 2. So now we have triplet, triplet, triplet. Triplet, triplet, triplet. Another one. Triplet, 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 triplet. Okay, so let's see that lick over top of the C groove. Try it again. Okay, so we're basically just working that. Triplet, triplet, dibba, 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 dibba. Think about it like a big long drum fill. Dibba, 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 dabba, dibba, dibba, dabba, dabba, dibba, 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 dum, boom, right? Right? You could speed it up even. Okay. Or you could funk it up. Let's go back a little bit where he's subdividing a lot there. Just have some fun with it. You know, at that point, I think people aren't really paying to hear you do anything they've heard before. But I do like that lick off the recording. Okay, that. Okay. Was it? So, you know, pentatonics, it's pretty simple. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's simple to understand what you're supposed to do. Elevating it up to music from noise, that takes some organization and some dedication and stuff like that. So those are the main sections of the tune. Last but not least, I think you know, you might want to think about superimposing certain melodies over top of things. So if you get to that, if we're in that C jam, you might want to think about taking a Beatles tune. You could do. What did I do? I was doing for a second there. I was almost doing. We could do. We could do. What's it? That's it. You know, the Zarathustra or whatever. Okay. You could even do Star Wars, I guess, right? We could do. Beatles tune, right? 2, 3, 4. Just have fun with it. You know, there's no reason not to have, no fun not to have fun. All right. People are not interested in watching you go up there and glower while you struggle through playing some modal exercise. In no way am I suggesting that you get in front of people and practice these ideas. It's much better to practice them by yourself, woodshed, 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 woodshed. And as slowly as things start to sink into your own playing vocabulary and they come out naturally while you play, right? Naturally while you play. You can't think about music when you play it. You actually just have to have it just kind of flow out of you for it to feel natural, okay? This is something that I have often thought about and espoused. And then I heard some other people say, like, yeah, the whole point of music is reps, 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 en privado, man. Like, on your own, figure it out until it can't come out wrong, all right? It can't come out wrong. And then when the time comes, you'll know when it's time to pull that move. You'll know it's time to do it. You've done it before thousands of times, and you don't even have to think about it. It just happens. How do I visualize scale over diminished chords like that part in Ship of Fools during the diminished chord in Eyes of the World? Okay, so let's pause. Let's end today's discussion on Shakedown Street and pivot to this. Okay. Now, to be honest, this is a bit more of an involved topic, so I'll try to be brief. But let's examine your two examples here. So if we're doing the jam in Eyes of the World, right? I think we're doing, you know, right, and then all of a sudden you get this kind of right. Back from the G minor to and then I think we get into do da do. And then from here we're gonna go to this C diminished sound. Do 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, that's the chord he's talking about. 3, 4, back. Okay, so the way I view that chord is, it's obvious to me that the way to think about that is, if you look at that C diminished sound, right, it's a C7 chord where the rootless part of it is diminished by 1 fret, but the C root stays the same. So if there are 5 notes in there, right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Actually, I guess the 5 is played twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4 notes in there. All right. 3 of those 4 notes are functioning as a B7 chord. All right, which is the 5 of where we're going. So I look at this like an altered 5 chord with the alteration in the root. Okay. The diminished chord is kind of an acey-deucey chord, right? Anything in there can be the root. We don't have to have it be up there, but that's where I see it, all right? And this is the easiest way for me to see it, as functioning as a B7 chord with a C in it. Kind of like a C with a flat 9, right? A B7 with a flat 9. So if we voice that this other way, B7 with a flat 9, there it is, okay? So that's how I view that chord. All right, and that's super, super easy to play over, because all you have to do is pretty much play B and just add the C in there. Okay, so let's just make up a quick little phony loop of that tune. Okay, looper on. clear it out, and then we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the G minor 7. So then back to E. 2, 3, E flat minor. Diminished. To practice that stuff with, okay? So if we start it here on the G minor. And that's how I tend to look at that, okay? So I'm looking at that like a B7 chord with a C in its root. And then it pulls back, basically like coming from the 5. All right, so the other was the diminished chord in Ship of Fools. Now, there's 2 diminished chords in Ship of Fools, so I'm not quite sure which one you're talking about, but if we're talking about the one that's here, went to see the captain, strangest I could find. That's pretty simple. All we're doing is we're walking this note up from E flat to E to the 5 of where we're going. So we're basically going strangest I could find, strangest I could find. Okay, that's the easiest one. That's the one where we're kind of using it as I call it a diminished return. Dad joke, right? So the idea is that we're going, that's the 4 chord, just the same way we would do like in a blues. If we were going, then like go to that. Right? That's where I see it. Okay, so that's kind of a standard move. Okay, the other diminished chord that happens in that tune is on the chorus, right? That's the it was later than I thought when I first believed you. Now you cannot share your laughter, ship of fools. It was later when I first believed you. Now I cannot share your laughter, ship of fools. that's a little harder to understand. So G minor. All right, so that's kind of like a G minor with a 6, or we might want to think about it like a 2 chord. All right, and then we're coming up here to this. Yeah, I don't honestly, I don't understand everything just at the top, at the drop of a hat. Everything isn't just obvious at first. I might have to think about that. Maybe it's just a passing chord to get to the next chord, so it's not a big deal to go to it. Right, and then, but that's what it is, right? So if we're right, and then C minor, F, E flat, back to B flat. Interesting song. I love Ship of Fools. I think it's a great tune. That change notwithstanding, everything else in there is kind of not standard cliche stuff, but it's not unheard of. I don't quite understand where that's sourced from. It's a great song. Appreciate my generosity, Jack. Thank you. No, I appreciate you tuning in there, Thomas, and anybody that asked questions or participated. I appreciate that quite a lot. And today, obviously, I'm shocked and super pleased to have received a donation from you guys. This is usually my day off, but it's spectacularly fun to come down here and goof off on the guitar. And then I just turned around. I was like, why don't we just have some fun with this and see what happens with another one of these. Always struggled visualizing diminished chords. Well, no. Okay, so I'm reading the comment that says, always struggled visualizing diminished chords. Damn, I didn't know it just moved down and that root stays the same. That's how I view the chord as it's functioning in Eyes of the World 74 changes. That's not always the way it works. Usually it's used as a way of bridging the gap from another song. All right, but Phil's kind of I think that has Phil written all over it. Using a C diminished chord as a substitute during a prog jam for a B7 chord. Right, because when we have the 5, that's the B7 in the key of E, there are a couple of known ways that we can play over a 5 chord on our way back to E. So if we play, let's just look at playing that sound real fast. Okay, if we look at a B7, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now we have something to practice against. Okay, and we can try different ideas. Now, the straight ahead way is to play B mixolydian over top of that. Right? Okay. Now we can play Phrygian dominant. That would be right. that's not really that welcome, right? We could do that though. Okay. That does happen in jazz sometimes. We'll end up playing like the harmonic minor from the 5th mode. That's what that is. Over the top of the 5 chord. Okay, but usually it sounds better going to a minor chord, in my opinion. You know, if we did I like that sound a little bit more. But you could definitely do that. The other thing we could do is play diminished, okay? And that's basically what we were doing. If we played the diminished sound, we get it with... Okay, now, that's not something that we do every day, but... You can do that, totally. So that's just the way it works in that one instance, okay? I wouldn't say that that's how all diminished chords work is, oh, it's functioning as a 5 chord. I would not do that, okay? So the idea being most of the time, like if we look at diminished chords, they work as a way of kind of raising the tension from the point that you're already on. So like if we're looking at, let's say we wanted to go from a B major chord to a C sharp minor chord. We might go. All right, so anybody might be familiar with that. They'd be sitting there going, you know. That's a good use of using the diminished sound as a passing chord, right? Very helpful there, right? Sometimes it's used as a substitute. Strawberry Fields is a good example. The first time through Strawberry Fields, I think you're hearing living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. It's getting hard to be someone, but it all works out. It doesn't matter much to me. Right, now we hear, let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to E minor, Strawberry Fields, and it's kind of the rush chord, right? This nothing is real. It's F sharp dominant 7 sus 4. Substitute for that is if we take the 5th of that and then form a diminished chord off of it, you'll hear that the second time through. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Fields. Nothing is real. Nothing is real. Second time through, and then and nothing to get hung about. Strawberry Fields forever. Right? What is that? All right. So you can see it very helpful there. It's also used in like blues tunes. Instead of going, we might go. Again. Kind of a jazzy blues sound. duck out of here and go upstairs and fuck around with my wife and my family and kids and shit like that, and maybe make a snack and have some fun for the rest of the afternoon. But it was super fun to meet up with you guys and share what I have and feel the few questions you guys. I'm surprised. I always feel like, hey, you guys could pepper me with a lot more questions, but maybe you feel like you can't interrupt me. I hope you'll feel free to try to knock me off my chosen path and do what we just did here at the end. That was kind of fun to just have to kind of think about, like, oh, how do I play that? Eddie Richmond noticed that I played the 2001 lick, but yeah, man. All right, so I will check back in with you guys when I can, and hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later. All right, take care, everybody, and buenos dias. Have a happy holiday. If you guys are if you guys are doing anything special, I hope you guys will enjoy yourselves and stay safe. Oh, shameless plug. Totally forgot about it. If anybody likes my lessons and wants to buy the tabs, they're normally $12 a piece, but for the rest of the year, I'm selling all 19 of them for half price. So I think that's $114 instead of $228. So if you want to save yourself some bucks, but still get literally 19 pretty, if I'm going to be honest, pretty groovy solos. There's a list. If you go and look under community on my channel, it says all the songs that are available. Quite a few, 19, and they're all done out with like professionally transcribed for me. So if you guys have ever enjoyed one of my solos and wanted to have tablature for it and felt that the verbal side of the lessons wasn't enough, which I have a hard time understanding, but plenty of people love tablature. I don't. I actually find tablature to be kind of annoying and difficult. But I no judgments. However you come to learning, I want you to do that. So go take a look on that little list. It says like there's videos and playlists, and it says community. If you look there, I made an announcement with all 19 songs listed, and if you want to PayPal me, it's like I said, I think it's $114 for the rest of the year. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at planning. I'm not good at anything other than playing this and trying to be a friendly bloke when I do. But am I still taking students? Absolutely. I definitely I've got, I think, about 20 now. I've lost a few. So they kind of ebb and flow, and people, they tell me they're coming back. I don't know if they are. I don't know what's going on. You can't really, as a teacher, you have to realize that people are going to come into and out of your little Venn diagram of life, and I overlapped with theirs for a second or two, and it was fun, and I hope it was enjoyable and educational for them. If anybody here is a student, I thank you for your patronage over the years, and if you want to check out a lesson with me, I mean, basically you just got one. This is kind of how it goes, except it would be just you and I, and we'd be talking about something that you and I would both agree was mutually beneficial. Like for you, I knew what you wanted to learn, and you knew what you needed to learn. If you want to ask me to diagnose what's problematic about your playing, I'm happy to do that too. I'm pretty easygoing in terms of scheduling and stuff like that. That said, it's not cheap. It's kind of like a golf pro or a tennis pro. Like tennis lessons and golf lessons and all that shit, they get expensive, and so too does guitar. So I understand that people can't necessarily stay students for 10 years or something like that, but I have taught people for now, I think upwards of 4 years or 3 years. So I've had some nice long-term connections with some students and watched meaningful progress in hundreds of students. And that part is super awesome. And my favorite time is watching somebody come back into my circle and share something that they are doing that they attribute to something that I showed them. But there's been time, I call it the uncle phenomenon, like when you are an uncle and you see your nephew or your niece and she's grown or he's grown. And it's just wonderful to see somebody blossom and take on your tutelage, and at the same time inform it by their own aesthetic and everything like that. So I love teaching, and if you're interested, you can contact me at Jack_Divine, spelled Devine, at hotmail.com. Jack_, it's at the back of 99% of these lessons and stuff like that. Or you could just list yours here if you want me to reach out to you. Once I do, you can delete it, and that way the bots don't find you and get crazy. All right, I've stolen all of Uncle Jack's secrets. That's flattering, and at the same time, that's kind of the whole point of this, isn't it? Is that I stole them all. So I mean, I found them, some of these, and then realized, oh, that's where that comes from, or that's what's going on there. All right. So my best and blessings to everybody out there in the internet, and it always feels weird talking to my own reflection in a phone. I've never really been that big a techie guy, but super fun. A little diagnostic help would be great. You mean with your playing, Jeremy? Or do you mean with, like, I don't understand. You mean just like how you want to learn a little bit about theory and what's going on with your own playing? Because yeah, that's definitely like guitar. Yeah, so that's definitely something I can help you out with. It's probably going to be a bunch of right hand exercises and exposure to how the fingerboard is laid out, and seeing kind of redundancies within the guitar, whether or not it's going, and seeing that. Right. Right. So we've got a very unforgiving instrument in terms of people who are interested in singular definitions, right? And we've got 5 middle Cs. So you got an infinite number of variables that now are bouncing around. I'd call myself an intermediate player, but all self-taught. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of blind spots and asymmetries or asymmetrical elements of your playing. And those aren't always the worst things to have, by the way. You know, I mean, some of the most fascinating guitar players out there are completely asymmetrical players. They have nothing. There's nothing well-rounded about Eddie Van Halen. Let's just be honest, okay? He's beautiful and brilliant guitar player, but he ran with the tip of the spear of his ideas and technique and just blazed a trail using something that he could do brilliantly. I don't feel like Eddie Van Halen, it was a diverse player, right? George Benson and his wackadoo way of holding a pick like that and coming up underneath the guitar, and thus forcing him to play his way. So these, all the orthodoxy that a teacher like myself will probably try to push on you is equally as valid for you as a student to say, fuck yourself, old man. There's nothing stopping me, you know, because there's no real set way of doing it, all right? But there are some things that are slowing you down probably that maybe you can't see, and there's definitely some things to consider that you may want to try to kind of bring into your bag of tricks, whether or not it's in learning how to do economy picking, or maybe you're just doing too much rotation or not enough rotation when you alternate pick. There's lots of stuff. Or are you consistently fingering in the wrong part of the fret? Are you back here a lot rather than up here? Does your vibrato sound weak and nervous? All these kinds of things. So happy to examine and kind of be a coach a little bit. All right, but I want you to understand, I'm still a student of this thing. I find it fascinating, and I'd love to work with you if you're interested. Okay, so once again, I'm going to sign off. 2 hours is long enough, but anyway. My best to everybody. Happy holidays. I didn't get a chance to say thanks for Thanksgiving, and have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if I don't see you again, okay? Of course, I'm happy to explain anything. And like I said, if you want to just shoot me an email at jack_divine@hotmail.com, I'll be happy to respond back. All right? Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate telling me I'm the man. I'm certainly a man, and I'm full of flaws, just like everybody else. But I'm happy to share what I do know about with you guys. All right, take care. Bye-bye.